Volunteer Induction and Training Module.
Volunteering opportunities are available to everyone. Volunteering builds strong communities. Research shows volunteers live happier and healthier lives. So volunteer today, so you too can give happy, live happy.
On behalf of the Campaspe and Murray Shire communities, thank you for your interest in being a volunteer. This video has been developed to introduce you to the wonderful opportunities that exist when you volunteer and introduces you to the principles of volunteering, your rights and your responsibilities. The organisation or community group that you choose to volunteer with is responsible to inform you of their core values. No doubt there will be much to learn, so don't hesitate to ask your supervisor to explain anything you're unsure about. Volunteers should always be fully informed and supported. We trust that your time as a volunteer will be an exciting and rewarding journey for you and your chosen organisation. The definition of a volunteer is one who gives time willingly for the common good and without financial gain. As a volunteer, you have the right to a healthy and safe environment, an orientation or an induction, information about the organisation you are working for, including policies and procedures, a volunteer position description which outlines the tasks that you will be expected to perform, a volunteer agreement that confirms the relationship between the volunteer and the organisation and your rights and responsibilities. Be provided with sufficient training and supervision. Be reimbursed for approved out-of-pocket expenses. Be protected by appropriate insurance. Have your personal information dealt with in a confidential manner. Take holidays. Say no if you're uncomfortable. Be informed and consulted on matters which affect you and your work. As a volunteer, you should not be undertaking the same work as a paid employee, filling a position previously held by a paid worker, doing the work of paid staff during an industrial dispute. As a volunteer, you're expected to be punctual and reliable, respect confidentiality, carry out the duties listed in your volunteer position description, understand you have the right to say no if you're not comfortable with a task or duty, be accountable, give notice if your availability changes or you are leaving the organisation. Know who your supervisor is or who you report to. Report any injuries or hazards that you notice in the workplace. Adhere to the organisation's policies and procedures. Deal with complaints in the appropriate manner. Undertake training as requested. Ask for support when needed. Support other team members. The purpose of occupational health and safety law is to protect the health, safety and welfare of all people who come into contact with a workplace, like employees, volunteers, clients and visitors. Under the law, everyone is responsible for workplace health and safety. Organisations have obligations under Commonwealth and state laws to ensure that volunteers are not exposed to risks to their health or safety in their volunteer role. They must also provide you with the information and training you need to perform your volunteer role safely. As a volunteer, you must also look after your own health and safety and avoid putting others at risk. This means you must follow health and safety instructions, use appropriate personal protective equipment, report any injuries or hazards that you notice in the workplace. If you feel you're unable to perform a task or have any safety concerns, do not proceed and immediately contact your supervisor. Remember, you are only expected to perform activities that you can perform safely. A hazard is something that has the potential to cause injury. It may be associated with the building, grounds, equipment, environment, biological or psychosocial, or a work practice. If you are injured, you must notify the person in charge. You are required to report the following to your supervisor: injuries, incidents, hazards, near misses, property damage. Familiarise yourself with the organisation's emergency evacuation process located on walls within the immediate area. You should also know who the emergency warden and first aid officers are. Volunteers may be required to use equipment to assist in various activities. Only operate equipment that you are licensed or qualified to operate. Ensure you have had adequate instruction on the use of the equipment. Report any damage. Make sure it is appropriately maintained and suitable for the task. Ask for assistance when you are unsure of the correct use of any equipment. If using a private vehicle, volunteers must provide a copy of your licence, provide proof of insurance, third party as a minimum, maintain registration and roadworthiness, drive responsibly and to the road conditions, adhere to parking rules and road rules. Any fines incurred are the volunteer's responsibility. In the case of using an organisation's car, the volunteer is also responsible for logbook records, having a mobile phone available, report any faults or minor dents and scratches, using the designated route for travel. In the case of an accident or emergency, call 000. The volunteer may render assistance to any injured persons to the best of abilities where safe to do so, exchange name and addresses, notify your organisation as soon as possible, and do not discuss the accident details with any other person at the scene or admit any liability. Reimbursement may be available for approved costs. Injury is not always caused by the size of the load, but the method used to lift or move the load. Please take care in any activity involving manual handling and be aware of activities that can prove a risk to your health and well-being. Please ensure you follow safe work procedures and get to know correct handling techniques. Remember to only carry out tasks that feel comfortable to do. If your task is repetitive, the solution may be to rotate to another job from time to time or take frequent breaks. PPE stands for Personal Protective Equipment and is designed for your own safety. Volunteers must ensure they comply with organisations' OHS policies and procedures and wear PPE as outlined in the organisation's guidelines. Hand washing is the most effective way of preventing the spread of infections. To minimise your risks, the correct process for washing your hands is as follows. Avoid resident hand basins. Wet hands with warm water. Apply solution and work up a lather. Wash palms, fingers, thumbs, nails and wrists. Rinse off soap by washing hands under running water for no less than 20 seconds. Turn off water using elbow. Dry with paper towel. Do not use clothing. When using alcohol-based hand rubs, apply enough product to cover all areas of the hands. Rub hands for 20 to 30 seconds until dry. When you find yourself wanting to reveal information about another person, stop and ask yourself, would he/she want me to share this? How would the person feel if they were here listening to what I am saying? Finally, be careful of what you hear. Be conscious of people's rights to hold private conversations and be aware that this is difficult to do in some circumstances. All volunteers have the right to have personal information dealt with in a confidential manner. Organisations should have a privacy policy which states how they will comply with the law. In general, this policy should explain how information is collected, how information is stored, how information is used, how and when information is updated, who is responsible for keeping records, who can access personal information, how information is disposed of. Respect in the workplace relates to workplace behaviour of paid and volunteer workers. There are a number of laws that protect workers from unlawful workplace behaviours. These include bullying, harassment, sexual harassment, discrimination, equal opportunity. As a worker, you have a right to be treated equally in the workplace. You also have a responsibility to treat others in the same way. For more information, check with your organisation. Your volunteer work will bring you into contact with a range of people who come from different cultural backgrounds or have different sets of values, philosophies and beliefs. We must accept people as they are and respect them as human beings. If you have any compliments or complaints, report these to your supervisor for the organisation's benefit. This will help your organisation to review its processes and performance. Volunteers are expected to practice within the guideline of their position description and level of skill or ability. Appropriate attire should be worn. Volunteers must conduct themselves in a manner that is courteous and attentive. Avoid making excess noise and treat people with dignity, using their preferred name, and be sure to maintain their privacy. Always be friendly, helpful and prompt in the attention that you give. Mobile phones may be used but should be kept on silent, with personal calls kept to a minimum. To comply with a smoke-free environment, no smoking is allowed within the boundaries of any volunteer facility. Alcohol and non-prescribed drugs of dependence should not be brought onto the premises. You may not accept any money, material gifts or gifts in any kind from the client, carer or family. Remind them you are a volunteer and do not require compensation for your efforts. Please remember that you are not authorised to witness wills or other documentation. Any request to do so needs to be referred to the volunteer supervisor. There may be times when consumers, family, friends, visitors can be upset, frustrated, withdrawn, aggressive, abusive or agitated. Follow organisational procedures. If unsure, ask supervisor at orientation what the procedures are. At all times. 1. Remain calm. Do not aggravate the situation. 2. Listen non-judgmentally. 3. Call for help as soon as safe to do so. 4. Maintain own safety at all times. And 5. Be sure to debrief with supervisor following incident. Your organisation does not support offensive behaviour. If you feel you're being intimidated, exposed to aggressive behaviour, you have the right to leave and seek assistance. If you find that you're on the receiving end of this type of behaviour, leave the site area immediately. Report this to your supervisor or manager and complete an incident report. As a legislative requirement, you may be required to provide, possess, hold or maintain some or all of the following: working with children checks, police checks. If at any stage you suspect any abuse, harm or misconduct, report to your supervisor.
If we didn't have our volunteers, there's a lot of services in our libraries, our hospitals, even when there's an emergency. A lot of these things wouldn't happen without the support of our volunteers.
1. Rights and responsibilities. There is one incorrect answer. As a volunteer, you have the right to A. Undertake the same work as a paid employee. B. A volunteer role description. C. A safe, healthy work environment. D. Be provided with a volunteer agreement. 2. Confidentiality and privacy. There is one correct answer. As a volunteer, you must maintain confidentiality in regard to A. Privileged information of the organisation. B. Privileged information of employees and other volunteers. C. Privileged information of the clients and/or customers. D. Disclosing people's personal information. Or E. All of the above. 3. Occupational health and safety. There is one correct answer. Occupational health and safety is primarily about A. Having fun at work. B. Protecting the health, safety and welfare of all people in all workplaces. C. Looking after yourself only. D. Keeping injuries and hazards a secret. 4. Workplace behaviours. There is more than one correct answer. Respect in the workplace relates to workplace behaviour of all workers, paid and volunteer, including A. Bullying. B. Discrimination. C. Sexual harassment. D. Having afternoon tea. E. Harassment. F. Victimisation. Thank you for watching this induction video. By volunteering, you're helping others live a happier, healthier life. For more information, speak with your supervisor or visit the website on screen.